What's going on YouTube? Chris with General's Comics. I'm going to do a video today with a little bit of a review of that new Transformers movie the last night. I just saw it last night and had to come on here today, talk a little about it. Got some Hot Rod and some Megatron with me. So, man, where to start? Where to start? I'm going to start by saying, with everything that's happened in the last 4 movies, I went into this movie expecting the worst. I would probably have to say that Age of Extinction was my least favorite movie. It just felt like a bad crack high or PCP high. It was so much stuff jammed in. They took so much away from the essence of what Transformers was. So, you know, and if you guys have watched my videos before, you know I'm not a big fan of Michael Bay and what he's done with this franchise. I like some of his other movies, don't get me wrong. So going into this one, I said, you know what? If it is what I expect, I'm just gonna laugh it off and move on. And I'll start with saying that I was actually surprised. Coming out of this movie, I think it was probably my favorite next to the first one. And I always give Michael Bay credit on the first one. You know, I thought he did a overall very well job bringing it to life. But what he's done in every movie after that, now that's a whole nother story. So moving forward, let's kind of go into the movie. There are going to be spoilers here, so if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want it to be spoiled, please turn this off, save it for later. If not, let's go ahead and talk about some things, guys. So I want to talk about some things that I enjoyed and some things that I didn't enjoy. So let's go into the positives first. Let's be you know, on a good note starting this off. I felt that as a storyline where you want to just you want to be able to dive into the storyline and the characters and be entertained. I think he did a great job. That's one of the things he's lacked in 2, 3, and 4. The storyline was all over the place, and you don't really get attached to the characters necessarily, or you know, especially with the Transformers characters, they're just not fitting. This had elements of that. Don't get me wrong. It was so much. He has a way of cramming so much and making every little thing so over dramatic, cramming so much into one movie, and you're like, all right, can we get back to this? But it worked with this. I was very conscious of this watching the movie. Everything came full circle for the most part, and you were able to follow it without being extremely confused, and it made sense. And because of that, I was entertained. You know, you saw in terms of the cinematography a lot of the cliche Michael Bay stuff that you see and you kind of snicker at, but overall, I mean, I wasn't overburdened by the CGI or by the fight scenes, the Transformers fight scenes and whatnot. I was able to follow it thoroughly, and that was kind of refreshing. So, you know, from start to end, it was entertaining. I liked how they brought back some of the characters, both human and Transformer. Barricade obviously is an awesome Decepticon to have in the movie. So you know, those are some positive things. And the movie was long, but it worked. There was never really a dull moment. Now let's go into some of the kind of criticism that I've always had for Michael Bay too. So this is where we're going to start really talking about Transformers for all you Transformers heads out there like I am, where it's kind of, we gotta, you know, cringe our teeth, grind our teeth a little on these issues. So let's get into the storyline. This is one issue that I have. Now we're going in the 5th movie and continue it. The continuity. Jeez, I brain fart on words sometimes, guys. But the continuity, the continuity of this film, or of these films, it seems out of whack. And me and my kids were talking about it. I'm sitting there, we're trying to put the piece together, and I guess, in a sense, if you use your imagination to fill in holes, it still works. But the continuity made me want all the middle movies to never happen. I felt this movie was a blend between Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon put together. The storyline was very much Indiana Jones, treasure hunt. There's this ancient myth going on that involves, the Knights of the Round Table, and it goes back to where the Transformers were here before, hundreds of years ago. Very reminiscent to Revenge of the Fallen. This ancient storyline, and you got the human characters going on this mission trying to hunt something down on a like a map quest, on a treasure hunt. And then you get into the deeper plot of this alien villain. So in Dark of the Moon, we had Sentinel Prime trying to bring Cybertron to Earth using these pillars to send a beam down and suck up the energy to bring Cybertron back to life. Well, what happened in this movie? Cybertron was being pulled to Earth, and the Quintesson, or the Quintessa, in this film, wanted to, have this pillar, or this staff, that sucked the energon, or the life, out of Earth to bring Cybertron back to life. Keep in mind, even the Fallen in Revenge of the Fallen did this same similar thing when he set up his pillars and tried to take all the energy from the sun. So it's like, can we just keep repeating the same stuff over and over again? But the way the storyline and everything was put together in this movie, it made me want those movies not to ever happen. So I said Age of Extinction was my least favorite, but the way that ended brought on how this movie started. So I just wish that they did the first movie and didn't do Revenge of the Fallen, didn't do Dark of the Moon. Or maybe they did Dark of the Moon but just changed it completely different. Didn't do Age of Extinction, but kind of ended Dark of the Moon with kind of what was going on towards the end of Age of Extinction. All that human tampering crap and making the Transformers turn into little cubes to transform was just ridiculous. So I'm glad there was none of that in this movie. So do you see what I'm saying? This movie was a lot. I think Michael Bay went in conscious of some of the criticisms and conscious of, trying to get some things right to make a well-rounded movie, which made me like this more, to just want to eliminate those earlier films. Okay. Optimus Prime as Nemesis Prime. It worked. It's not the original storyline. Nemesis Prime was a clone Decepticon of Optimus. This time it was Optimus being controlled by his creator, whatever. It worked. You can't. As purists, I get it, but you can't keep everything the same. All right. Going back to the continuity. In the first movie, you had the Cube, the Allspark, which gave them life, right? Gave the Transformers life. But now we find their creator. So I'm like, okay, that's not really what created them. But you can kind of put the pieces together using your imagination and state that, well, the creators use this energy within the Allspark to create them. And that kind of relates that. And then you got all these different timelines of different things happening with the Fallen and the original Primes. And then, when when the Cybertronian War was going on and Cybertron fell and Sentinel Prime took a ship and escaped and crashed on the moon, which was Dark of the Moon. And then he wants to come and take over the Earth. Me and my son were talking, saying that maybe he was under the control of Quintessa as well. Or he was just so loyal at that point he didn't care about humans. He just wanted his home planet back. So, you got all these things that you can, like I said, use your imagination to kind of put the pieces together. But the thing about in this last movie too, last night they talked about how Bumblebee fought side by side with Hot Rod in World War II against the Nazis. And then I'm thinking, wasn't the first movie, didn't they say that was the first time that they came and they learned English through the internet and all this stuff? But if you remember, Bumblebee was already there. So we don't know how long he was there before the other Autobots came. It kind of works. Alright. One of the real big issues that I had with this film. Now, I've been very balanced in my opinion on the changing of the look of the Autobots in the last films, especially the Decepticons, to make them look more alien. At first, I was taken back by it. I didn't like it at all, but I understood. I understood what they were doing to bring more realism in. I thought they did a very good job in the first couple of films with the way, especially the first one, with the way the Autobots looked. Obviously, you had your key Autobots looking very true to their character. In this movie, your Decepticons looked more like cyborg predators from the Predator films. They had basically the same mouth, it seemed, that would open up and bring the teeth out like the Predator does. And I'm like, really? And they were all changed. And I know each film, every Autobot and Decepticon would change a bit. This change, I think, was just ridiculous. And, you look at Megatron here. And you can look at what they did with him in the first couple of films and still find, something to hold on to. This one, I just thought it strayed. I mean, guys, for those that have watched the movie, I want to hear your feedback on this. What you thought of the Decepticons look, especially Megatron. And this really extreme, not just alien look, but creature look. Instead of robotish alien look. I did not like that at all. Quintessa, they made her a female, which is fine. But they didn't have the rotating heads. What was it? Death, War, the three different heads, like in G1, like in the original storyline. And that, to me, was imperative in terms of understanding these creators and understanding why, there was no loyalty to the Transformers, the Decepticons, or the Autobots. And it explained their viciousness and their warlike mentality. That wasn't there. She just had one face, and like hair, dreadlocky looking hair. Those are some issues. I mean, they were. Now let's get into the Autobots. I don't understand why Michael Bay strayed so much from keeping Autobots very close to their original look. Hot Rod. Hot Rod's car was awesome. They had some orange on it, not really the red. That's fine. It was mostly black with some orange. They could have put a little more orange on. Maybe put the flames in the front and a spoiler on the back. And his robot look it was unrecognizable. They gave him a French accent. This was not Hot Rod. Bumblebee was a lot different than G1. He didn't talk. They brought this new, he was using a voice box, which I thought was very creative, actually. But he was yellow and he was Bumblebee. He was the little guy. He was Bumblebee still. We knew he was Bumblebee. Jazz, even though he was all silver, he had the glasses and the little horns, and he had the same attitude, that same hip attitude. We knew it was Jazz. Ratchet, we knew it was Ratchet. Hot Rod was just so taken out of context. It was ridiculous. I wish he would have never done Hot Rod and just called him something else, or find something to stay true to. There was no reason for him to have a French accent, but the look alone just killed it. It wasn't Hot Rod. Don't call him Hot Rod. You know who it should have been, because he was like brothers in arms with Bumblebee. It should have been Cliffhanger, if anybody. Because he was more, he looked just like Bumblebee, except red. Killing me. Now, let me put my last kind of pieces on what I feel Michael Bay has done with this franchise, and after watching this movie. I saw a meme that said 1% Decepticon, 5% Autobots, and like 85%, like Mark Wahlberg and his love interest. And don't get me wrong, Mark Wahlberg did a fine job. It's really true. The majority of his movies, and even in this one, even though I thought it ran more smoothly and I was actually entertained, his movies are human-based military-driven movies with robots in the background. He should have named this franchise G.I. Joe and Transformers, because it would have done the franchise a lot better, because the lack of emphasis on the Transformers would have been okay. You know, when he's so into his, like, you know, using, you know, real military and these slow motion military scenes where you see military people gearing up and getting in the planes and stuff, and it's like you could tell he's having like a romance with this concept. He needs to be romancing the Transformers, you know. But if you would have called it G.I. Joe and Transformers, it would have been a lot fitting. A lot more fitting, because the army military characters should have just been G.I. Joe characters. And call it how it is, man. Call it how it is. So, lastly, the biggest spoiler, the ending. They've said this is the final chapter. But then in the end, we see that, you know, Unicron, we're going to have another movie with Unicron. And Unicron's in the Earth, which they seem to be taking from Transformers Prime, the animated series, and straying away from G1 and how we know Unicron originally. So I don't know how that's going to go over. I don't know how that's going to play. But I heard that Michael Bay isn't going to be directing this 6th film, but they are going to have it. Michael Bay said he was going to opt out after the 3rd film and not do the 4th. That happened, so we don't know. We don't know. So, gosh. Again, guys, I went into this movie expecting the worst. I was entertained, which makes me feel okay. If I wasn't expecting the worst, I'd still feel like crap, because, you know, there's so many holes and so many issues still. But like I said, for me to love Transformers so much and have so much frustration with what Michael Bay has done to ruin this franchise, I felt there were things that he did to right some wrongs for this film, and it was enjoyable. I do recommend you guys to go see it. Like I said, I was entertained, and I would appreciate everybody's feedback. This is a topic that I want to get into and you know, go back and forth and debate these things, and even bring up things that maybe I forgot to discuss, and talk about what you guys thought of the movies, what you guys thought of the movie, what you guys thought of the characters, and you know, how this played out, and what you guys think of how it ended. So thank you guys for watching. I could go on to talk about this for days, but we're going to end this here. Let's get some comments going, and you know, I look forward to replying to you guys and speaking with you guys further on this. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Until next time.